right, welcome back. It's time for us to get into some community-focused conversations. Now, before we do that, let me just mention to you that today is Tuesday, and so Startup Africa comes on your screens tonight. It's at 7:30. You don't want to miss the conversations on Startup Africa. Very, very important, very insightful, in this challenging global economic hard times that we find ourselves in. It's important for us to see the kinds of breakthroughs and opportunities that startups are experiencing. And many different startups from all over the world. We're covering all of these, all over the continent, sorry. These are all covered by this particular show. And very exciting experiences that people have had through the times. And a lot of the times you find that challenging times, cause people to rise up and bring some fantastic ideas to fruition, and Startup Africa brings that to you from all over the continent. Again, it's at 7:30 p.m. tonight, right here on Citi TV, and the repeats will be on Wednesday at 12:30, and then again on Thursday at 1 p.m. So you don't want to miss Startup Africa. All right. Well, let me say a good morning and a very, very, very big welcome to Kokwi.
Oh.
Hey.
Hi, Kwekudi. I feel like I haven't been here forever.
No, you haven't. It's been
like almost 4 months.
Should I say Happy New Year to you?
Oh,
yeah.
Charlie. Is it that serious?
It's that long. How are you doing?
I'm well.
It's
How are you?
Good to have you here.
It's good to see you. It's good to see you. I mean, like on air again.
Yeah.
I normally see you out off camera.
I know, right?
Yes.
I know.
So we're back for a little bit.
Yeah.
What
it's
everyone.
Good. It's good to have you here. Now, we're going to be talking about something that's affecting everybody in Ghana. Challenging economic times. And
you've made me sigh so deeply this morning.
Well, it's a reality.
It is a reality. A painful one.
Yes. And for me, I think that in all the conversations that we're having, right, the focus should be on the least of us, right? The poorest of the poor. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today. Because even though we are in some, tougher times that we've experienced in the recent past, you do also realize that some people are still pretty much, okay, in the midst of it. They're riding the storm and they seem to be okay. So, case in point, I went to watch Black Panther, right?
Yes.
And the 3 sessions around, so there were, the people that came before my session, my slot where I went to go watch, were all full. Yeah, the cinema was full, right? And it's 150 Ghana cedis per ticket, all full. And then the group after us, look, the lobby was jam-packed.
Packed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So even though it's challenging, you find that there are some people that are managing it somehow and being okay. But not everybody is being okay at all. And you see, that's the thing that we should be careful about as a nation. That the fact that some people are okay, you can easily forget that there are people who really are struggling, like crazy struggling.
Many people.
Yeah, really struggling.
And many of us are like on a borderline.
It's
like you're not quite okay,
so,
but you're not quite in that extremely vulnerable group.
Thank you.
But you're just holding on.
Yeah.
Look,
there's a headline. There's a headline that I saw this morning on the Anchor newspaper. It says, "Even Akpeteshi is now 4 Ghana cedis per thought."
Yes, we saw
Even
that.
Akpeteshi is now 4 Ghana cedis per thought. This is Obri Bwahi lamenting.
Even Akpeteshi, where people feel, you want a bit of alcohol.
No, Akpeteshi is the cheapest of the cheap.
The cheapest way,
For
they say, 4 cedis per thought.
Can you imagine? Have you bought eggs recently?
Charlie, a crate of eggs is hovering in the 50 range.
Yes. 50 Ghana cedis for a crate of eggs.
A crate of eggs?
Yes.
And eggs, another
Yes.
another one of those food items that you would always think, or even the most
vulnerable can get
afford
eggs.
at least an egg, and it's a
Yeah.
source of protein.
Yeah.
So, dietary
It's a superfood.
requirement
So
wise, it's
really,
a superfood.
if you
Even
don't have
that,
anything else, you have an egg.
you have an
to
egg
take
at
care of
least.
some
Yeah,
things.
you've got something. Now, an egg is becoming a luxury item for some people.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that
Now,
you should be concerned.
Back in 2008, the government instituted what is referred to as a LEAP program.
Yes.
To help shore up, the conditions of some of the most vulnerable people within our communities. Unfortunately, even LEAP now has taken a hit. And we have a report for you. Let's take a look at this report. We'll come back and then we'll get into some conversations about this.
Behind the pulse is Sanatu Issa. Though she's unable to gauge her age, a careful look at her seems to point to one who is well over 50 years old. Sanatu takes care of herself and grandchildren. Unfortunately, she abandoned her shea nut processing business due to ill health. Sanatu is one of the over 344,000 beneficiaries of the LEAP program under the Ghana National Protection Policy. The initiative aims at cushioning vulnerable households, especially people like Sanatu, against poverty. Under the program, one eligible member of a household receives 64 cedis, which is approximately $5 monthly. Ladi is Sanatu's neighbor and a beneficiary of the LEAP program. She tells me the monthly stipend was helpful in the past, but inflation has completely eroded its value. There is no doubt that social protection programs are very important. Experts warn that the prevailing economic challenges could push more people below the poverty line, making social protection programs more relevant now than before. However, there are concerns over the quantum of money spent by the government of Ghana under its social protection programs. A recent survey conducted by Send Ghana reveals that Ghana spends less than 1% of its GDP on social protection, which falls far below the 2.2% average in sub-Saharan Africa. Here is the Northern Regional Program Manager for Send Ghana, Mohamed Mumuni.
People who cannot afford 3 square meals a day. And for that matter, we have decided as a country to provide them some cash handouts. I mean, who is talking about them? That money continues to be in arrears. It has lost its value considering the inflation. 64 Ghana cedis. What will it buy? A bag of maize today is going for over 300 cedis. Can we even buy, 2 liters of oil? But that's a real and practical challenge. So in as much as we are talking about, the 2023 budget and the fact that it will be largely influenced by an IMF program, we need to think about social protection and how do we make sure that those at the bottom there do not suffer the most.
In Zambia, for instance, a beneficiary of a social protection program receives approximately $12 a month, which is nearly 3 times the amount disbursed in Ghana. Back in Ghana, There are calls for the government to invest more in its social protection programs, correct anomalies, and get a social protection bill passed by Parliament. But does the ministry in charge intends to consider an increment of the allowance anytime soon? Dr. Mills Ongo is head of the LEAP program and speaks on the matter.
Over the years, we admit that as inflation and other things come to play, there's a need to review some onwards the cash grants that we give to beneficiaries. And the ministry recognized that, and we are in talks with the Ministry of Finance, and we are working hard to make sure that some review is done for the cash to be reviewed upwards to meet the consumption of the household.
The relevance of social protection programs cannot be overemphasized. As member countries of the SDGs work towards eradicating poverty by 2030, it is critical that government takes steps to make the program more responsive to the needs of beneficiaries under the prevailing economic challenges. The social protection program, according to beneficiaries, is a good initiative. However, they want governments to address the bottleneck affecting the implementation of the program. From Tamale, I am Dinah Ngwan for Citi News.
All right, so we have that report there giving us a bit of a sneak peek into the real challenges that some people are facing in this country.
I think it's easy sometimes for us to forget. We're all going through this tough period, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes we forget just how bad it is for some people.
Yeah.
We complain, I went to the shop today and the tissue kitchen towel paper I used to buy at 20 cedis is now 40 cedis, or the juice I was buying at 15 cedis is now, that's the thought process we have.
Complaints.
But someone's complaint is, I used to be able to get an egg for 50 pesos.
Yeah.
I used to be able to buy sachet water for 10 pesos, 20 pesos.
Yeah.
Now, if I want to buy sachet water, it's 50 pesos, 60 pesos.
Yeah.
For people in that situation, that's a huge increment.
Yeah.
We sometimes, I think, find it hard to relate to that.
Yeah. No, I think we find it hard
Somebody's
to relate
reality.
to that. And so in many ways, it's lost on a lot of people, what the real hardships are, And I think that if you think about you and I, if it's lost on us, can you imagine for people who actually don't pay actively for most things, right? Government types I'm talking about, who don't pay actively for a lot of things. So they go and they park their vehicle and the tank is filled. For people but these are the managers of the economy. They are out of touch with reality because even though they are managing the country, for them, they don't come out of pocket for most of the things, right? So the reality of, oh wow, this is what it's costing me, it's not there, right? Think about an SUV. You park an SUV, and with nothing less than 2,000 Ghana cedis, you cannot fill the tank of an SUV. Now, if you're coming out of pocket, the instant reality of what it is that is happening is there. But if you are the type who has the privilege to park your car and say, fill the tank and give me a receipt. And when a receipt comes, you fold it without even looking and you put it there because you're just going to pick it and give it to somebody at the office to handle it. You don't understand what's going on in the country. No, you can't possibly understand what's going on in the country. You can't. Maybe it's not your fault, but you can't understand what's going on in the country. There's some people who receive 64 Ghana cedis as a stipend every month to help their living experience. 64 cedis. If you're buying an egg for 2 Ghana cedis, in 30, it will take 30, it's 32 eggs, literally.
That's it.
It's gone. 64 cedis is gone. Now, the egg is a symbol of the most basic for sustenance. Okay? We refer to it as a superfood because if you take an egg and you add nothing else to it, it can pretty much take you for a few hours and you'll be okay. Nutritionally, not in terms of hunger, but nutritionally, it will take care of you a few hours, right? If you want to go through an entire day, and that's the only form of sustenance you have, you need probably about 2. Okay, and that's the only form of sustenance you have. You need about 2. So it means 64 cedis, in reality, cannot take you through a month.
Of course not. It's not in this day and age. There's very little, and a lot of
Do you get
people in these areas might be subsistence farmers, so they might cultivate a few crops just to meet their, their daily food needs. But even with that, and we're just talking about food here. What about other expenses? What about healthcare in those instances where that happens?
Yeah. Let's speak to a beneficiary.
Okay.
Someone who, has been receiving some of these stipends from LEAP. All right. Esther Otibo has joined us on the line. All right. Esther.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. Esther, can you speak English with us? Are you okay with it, or should we talk in Twi? Kasa be na opese yeka. Ebia. Okay. All right. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do?
I'm a disabled.
You're-
Child to good disease.
But your mouth is kakra.
So shall I speak English or?
Yes, speak English with us. Yes, please.
I said I'm a disabled
Okay.
in the child to the good disease,
Okay.
and I'm living at Agomeda.
Okay.
But I'm taking care of 2 orphans,
Okay.
Wow.
and I'm a seamstress.
You're a seamstress. Okay. All right. And have you been receiving the LEAP stipends every month?
Yes, but not every month.
Not every month. Okay, so tell us what the experience has been like. Since when did you start receiving the LEAP, and how often does it come?
About 3 years now.
Okay.
And because of the children, just 2 children, I'm taking care of.
Okay.
So every 2 months they give me 88 cedis.
Okay.
But
58.
88.
88.
88. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but sometimes it takes quite a long time before they come.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, about 6 months, sometimes less 2 or 3 months. Then they come at once in a month.
Oh, okay. So sometimes, so let's say you haven't received for let's say about 3 months. Will all the 3 months come together at once? Would they pay everything at once?
No. Sometimes, like if it files for about 4 or 5 times, then they give us 2 times.
Oh, okay. I see. I see. Wow. And so now that the prices of things are also going up and all of that, how are you managing?
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. Very, very, very difficult. Because of the inflation.
Yeah.
Even food is very expensive.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you go to the market with that money, the government is doing its best, but it doesn't help at all. So we are pleading to them that they can increase the amount for it, so that we can take care of the children.
So,
Because before in Agomeda,
Yeah.
1 ball of kinky is 1 cedi. Now it's 3 cedi.
Wow.
Without any frying fish.
Yeah. Yeah.
so where you are, what are you able to buy with that 88 cedis? Or how long does it stretch you?
So, let's take it about 5 to 6 days, then it will.
About 5 to 10 days. Well, that's even that is
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Esther, thank you very much for speaking to us.
You are welcome.
Okay. And please stay safe. and we wish all the best.
Thank you.
All right. So that's Esther Otibo from Agomeda speaking to us. She's a beneficiary of LEAP. She says they're getting 88 per month, but even that is not regular.
Yep, it's in arrears.
And it's in arrears. So sometimes if there are 5 months in arrears and the payment comes, maybe 2 months will come, and the rest of the other 3, you have to wait a bit more for them. So there's always arrears, and so on. We also have Emilia Ugo. Emilia, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, Emilia.
Yes.
Good morning.
Morning.
Emilia, it's saying.
Because show me who you.
Okay. Emilia, now, only you can say every here. What's it?
Me no kasa fi dodowa.
Dodowa. Okay.
Fine.
Okay. Now, Emilia, LEAP sikana woje no. Every time Ben I will start to say woje sa sikano.
Tama eba first no, me refi year no.
Okay. Now, just say first cry.
First.
Oh, I see. So baby 2000 ho baby.
Ebebu.
Okay. All right. Now, inti sisiano sika hina ya monthly what me bro.
Every month no my 32 and in 2 months no me 64.
2 months be 64.
Mbachwan.
Inti month be 32.
Mbachwan.
Inti
anya baako for anya baako chana obi ani ne oje.
Obi ani ne oje. Okay.
O family Oma,
you.
Any sene obeje.
Oh, okay. I see. Inti se inti sikano bosumi bia sikano ba.
Enya bosumi na ba about 2 months.
2 months na ba.
Mbachai.
Okay. Na inti sisia eniema ekosro ni adi eya sa sikana eba no eden na utimi de to.
Enu de unza mebre. Mentimi factory but obi chawade a untimi ngaza ade o de chawo ni sha. Ana say umpebiu. Intimi somsa.
Wow.
Does she do anything else?
Then I want kasa woye wa brabo like business be na ketwe be na oye na say den.
Me be ra business no na menya hwe na me kita bofra baaku. Ese abofra no wanya 21 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Enti enam sa kwala no ntina me di ra sa leak ni.
Okay.
Enti emu an me hwe adwuma.
Okay.
Person me wa ho kire me obi boa me no kire me adwuma nti me hwe hairdressing.
Okay.
Nti say at the moment no hairdressing no na me dey manage.
Na we dey manage. Okay. All right. Emilia, it does a pass on your casa no pay. You and Yamin Shaw so na bibian ko. Okay.
It does.
All right. So that was Emilia Ugo speaking to us from Dodowa. So basically, what she said was she's been on the program from the beginning. It sounds like 98 back in the, well, I mean, because she said that from 2000, it's even before 2000, she was on some kind of a program where she was receiving some of the stipends. And her son is now 21.
21, yeah.
You know, the amount that she receives, 32 a month, 32 CDs a month. Now this is even worse than we thought. And then she's clarifying that not everybody receives the same amount, but it's also dependent on your dependents.
Yes.
The more dependents you have.
So Esther was getting 88. She has 2 dependents.
2 dependents.
And Emilia, well, she had one dependent, but now he's 21.
He's 21. Yeah.
She gets 32 cents a month.
Yeah.
So your egg example.
Yes, it doesn't. It goes out of the window.
It's
done. Yeah, 1 egg a day. You can't.
And then one for the next month.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. It's really crazy. It's a tough situation. I don't know how. Well, I mean, I'm glad to hear that both with Esther's case and in Emilia's case, they didn't just sit and wait. They found something to do because if you don't,
what are you going
it's
to
not
live
going
on?
anywhere.
32 CDs.
It's not going anywhere. It won't go anywhere. It won't do anything.
And you know people.
And even that one, they didn't get the help to deploy their skills
Yeah.
from LEAP.
Right.
Other
people
supported, and they learned, a trade or something.
Which is more sustainable.
Which is more sustainable.
Because as she said, that's what she manages now.
Yeah.
It was 32 a month. I mean, a lot of
you know what I
people
find interesting about what she said?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When somebody gives you something for free, it's
even
a gift.
If it's,
you can't say no.
You can't say,
right?
this is too small.
Yeah, so you just take it like that. But it really does nothing.
I think gone are the days where people used to assume, once you live in certain rural areas or communities, they can go a long way with very little.
Yeah.
But I don't care where you live in this country.
No.
32 Ghana cedis is
it doesn't work.
Woefully inadequate for anyone to have a decent life. And she said she's in Dodoa.
Yeah, she's in Dodoa.
Dodoa is not.
It's
exactly
Greater Accra.
It's
Greater Accra. It's not.
That's I don't know how she manages that. Like she said, maybe it's just a token that she may use for one or two little things, but I think the plight of many people is quite dire.
Yeah.
And it lays it bare.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we also have William Nyakote on the line. William, good morning. Hello, William. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, William, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, William, how are you this morning?
I'm doing good, by God's grace.
Okay. William, so you are also a LEAP beneficiary, right?
Yes.
Okay. So tell us, how long have you been on the program, on the LEAP program?
I would say it's about 4 years now.
Okay. All right. And why did you choose to go on the LEAP program?
Because of the situation which I am.
Okay. Which is what?
There is difficulty in financial difficulty.
Okay. Yeah. And so how much do you receive monthly?
A month. From the beginning, it was said they will be giving us something a month, but when we started, it comes 2 months.
2 months, 2 months. And so how much comes?
2 months, I receive 76 Ghana cedis.
76, okay. Okay. Do you have any wife and children?
No. Actually, I am a caretaker. I receive it for someone.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
So the person I receive for is a young boy.
Okay.
And he has a grandmother who is also about 70 years.
I see.
And old woman is not doing anything to support the young boy.
Okay.
And he has other siblings, other brothers and sisters who are also not doing anything. So it's hard for the old woman to support the children in their education and even what to eat.
I see. I see. So tell us what the experience has been like in the last month or two. The amount that you're receiving, what are you able to do with it?
I can say, because it's not much. The expectation of the money is not how it was coming.
Yeah. Okay.
Because of that, when the money comes, sometimes they even borrow money and use before the money comes.
Wow.
And when the money comes to, it does not solve all the problems. Still they own. So it's like the money cannot even support the education, but it's just for house food and what they will eat. Wow.
So let me ask, I mean, you've been doing this for a few years. If you're looking at the 76 that you have been receiving, how much do you think, if you received on a monthly basis, it will actually make a difference? Would you say 100 cedis, 150, 200? I mean, looking at where we find ourselves now, how much do you think will be able to take care of the dependence that you have?
That one there, I can say, before I would say you can take care of them unless 500 500 Ghana cedis, 300, 200, that one can even solve the problem small.
Come again.
I'm saying before the problem can be solved, and they also have good benefits, unless from 500.
Okay.
500 cedi before it will
Okay.
happen.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank
Because
you.
it's like this money all is for chop money.
Yeah. Okay.
So apart from chop money, if any other thing, the money can cater for any other thing, unless from 500 grand.
Okay. All right. William, thank you so much for speaking to us this morning.
Okay. Thank you too.
So it looks like Koki, they are caretakers.
Yes, so they receive it on behalf
of someone else,
you
know, that you're supporting in one way or another. So I guess the grandmother of this young person and his siblings got to an age where she could no longer fend for herself and the dependents, right? So then he, being maybe close to them or something, stood in to say, I'll go and take this money on your behalf. And that's a system that is part of, you know, so somebody's a caretaker. So I'm taking it on behalf. So not necessarily a direct beneficiary, but a caretaker. That's a very interesting, you know, system. But I think that, again, it boils down to the quantities, you know, and the amounts that people are receiving.
And when you think about the fact that our minimum wage currently is what, 13 cedis 58 or so, it's going to go up to 14 cedis 80 something, which we all know is still woefully inadequate. So if that's the daily minimum wage, and in a month someone is getting 32 cedis or 77 cedis or 88 cedis, it doesn't even get anywhere close to minimum wage.
I think that maybe what we should do, looking at it, is that the leap should be ramped up to at least the minimum wage.
It should, right? Okay.
Because if you did 14 cedis times 30
every day,
right, then you're paying minimum wage, but that is for the leap beneficiaries. I think it would make a difference.
More sense. Okay.
We have Mohammed Mumuni, who is the program manager for Send Ghana Northern, and he's joined us on the line. Mohammed, good morning.
Good morning, my brother. How are you?
Very, very well. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on Breakfast Daily this morning.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity, and good morning to your viewers.
Yes. And Mohammed, I know Send Ghana has been doing a lot of work in this area. Talk to us about your experiences working, looking at the LEAP program, looking at LEAP beneficiaries, looking at the challenges that they go through, and then looking at the current economic conditions that we find in the country, and your thoughts, you know, about where we're going with this LEAP program.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. As you said, the Library Empowerment Against Poverty is one of the social protection programs that Send Ghana has monitored over a period. And basically, we are working to make sure that, in fact, it really serves its purpose. I mean, as you said, you know, the LEAP was actually introduced because within Ghana, we had identified a certain group of people that we said they were actually extreme poor, and for that matter, they needed some support. And we decided that should have been in the cash, or it should have been in cash. And I mean, this process started very well up until when most of us thought that aside the delays in getting them paid, the money has at least its usefulness. Even prior to the conditions that we find ourselves in terms of the current economic crisis, I mean, 64 Ghana cedis for a household, knowing that if you take a typical household in the north, where our staple is maize, I mean, a bag of maize is over 300 Ghana cedis. And yet we are still paying the same amount. What calculation went into determining the 64? Is it still relevant? And even that, we are unable to pay that. And so as a country, it raises the questions about whether we are actually serious about dealing with the inequalities that exist in society.
Yeah.
I mean, people can continue to talk about our resource constraints, but the question is, how do we make sure that we are prioritizing, the vulnerable in society? I keep making the point that regardless of our resource constraints, the budget for 2022 and the previous budget made allocation for leave beneficiaries just as compensation for government workers. Okay. How come that government workers are paid and then we don't see the need to compensate leave beneficiaries? Wow. It is because we don't see that as their right. It's a privilege. It's not seen as their right. And as a country, until we begin to prioritize some of this, the inequality gap would continue to widen. I mean, look at the current economic crisis we find ourselves. Yeah. Everybody, including the working class, is complaining.
Yeah.
So what about those who were already, or whose situations was already worse off prior to this crisis? Yeah. Who is talking about them? Okay, and even with that, the money is not still coming regularly. So there's the issue about the money not being regular, the inadequacy of the money. Today, I mean, I just heard my colleague talking about, the possibility of pegging that around the daily minimum wage. I mean, we need to ask ourselves, a typical family, what would they need to be able to survive? Because these are people who cannot afford 3 square meals a day. Yeah. Divide 64 Ghana Citi by 1 month. Even if that family is just made up of 2 people, what can they buy with it? You see? Yeah. And so as a country, it raises the questions about whether we are actually serious about some of these interventions, or we just want to have interventions that we can keep counting. I cited the case where the UN rapporteur, made a strong case that in Ghana, most of our social protection programs are just slogans. Yeah? If you were to do a deeper assessment of how it has been implemented, then you realize that on the ground, it is not as we perceive in the policy document. So, yes, we all do recognize the situation we find ourselves in terms of our resource constraints, but the reality is that if we actually prioritize these category of citizens, there should be a way out. I mean, we all know about sometimes the wasteful expenditure that we engage in this country. Yeah. We all recognize that there are times we invest in certain areas that really do not matter. I mean, a typical example, it's what we are all talking about, the National Cathedral and some other related expenditure.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody who cannot feed his children 3 square meals a day, what does free senior high school mean to that person? Those children need a foundation to be able to get to senior high, right?
Yeah.
And so it's about how we are balancing, the various interventions and appreciating that we need to see how we can consolidate the gain. Our worry as civil society, and for that matter, SEN, is that if nothing is done about this situation, by the time we get off this current crisis, a lot of people are going to go down the poverty line. And what it means is that all the gains that we have made over the years would have gone down the line. And that is something that civil society, the media, and even the international community, I mean, a number of international NGOs are actually supporting government to implement these programs. I think that this is the time we need to collectively think about how do we get government to appreciate that, especially that we are talking about engaging the IMF, that it doesn't really see as, do things that can potentially worsen the plight of, the vulnerable, especially the lead beneficiaries. But there are bigger issues about whether, we are targeting the right people, and now we should have had some of them graduated. You see, as a country, we are not just getting things right. The idea was that over a period we would graduate some of them. Of course, now they have started processes to do that. But the reality is that targeting has been a very big issue. There are people on leave that shouldn't be there. And the right people who are there are currently not on it. So that's a matter of concern that we need to deal with as a country.
Okay.
Mohammed, it's been very insightful. Thank you very much for speaking to us this morning.
Thank you.
Really
Thanks for the opportunity.
All right, so that's Emmanuel Mumini, who is the programs manager for Send Ghana Northern Region. Just to give some context to this, so the LEAP program, the money is not paid monthly. It's paid every 2 months. Okay, every 2 months. Now, the 64 cedis is what, if you have one, if you're a single beneficiary, it's 64 cedis. If it's two beneficiaries, it's 76. So remember, you heard the 76.
Yes.
Yeah, and then we also had an 88.
Yes.
The 88 is for 3 beneficiaries. All right, and then 106 is for 4 or more beneficiaries. So that's how it works. All right, so we have 64 cedis for a single beneficiary, 76 for 2 beneficiaries, 88 for 3 beneficiaries. So you've been hearing the different numbers, and maybe you're wondering why everybody's saying something different. Well, it's because there's actually a way they've rolled out. And then for 4 beneficiaries, 4 or more beneficiaries is 106 cedis. All right, so that's really what it's about. And Ghana, we need to understand that we cannot judge ourselves based on the best of us. We can only judge ourselves, as all nations do and should, by the least of us. And so if a single beneficiary is getting 64 Ghana cedis a month at this time, that's the person, that's the benchmark for who we are and what we think of ourselves as a nation. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.